The armor we need to shed, how vulnerability unlocks true power for Black professionals. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Timika Lipscomb, a visionary leader whose work is fundamentally transforming how we think about strength, vulnerability, and success in the Black professional community. Tamika isn't just changing individual lives, she's creating ripples that are reshaping entire communities, dismantling harmful narratives, and forging pathways that many thought impossible. Her courage to stand in her truth while helping others find theirs has created a movement that's redefining what power looks like for Black professionals across America. What struck me most about our conversation was a profound counterintuitive truth that challenges everything we've been taught about power and success. It's this revolutionary idea I want to explore with you today. We live in a culture that worships strength, particularly in Black communities. We're raised with mantras like stay strong, never let them see you sweat, and push through no matter what. These messages aren't arbitrary. Their survival wisdom passed down through generations who faced unimaginable hardships, who knew that showing weakness could have devastating consequences. But what if this definition of strength, this armor we've been taught to wear, is actually limiting our potential? What if our insistence on appearing invulnerable is the very thing preventing us from accessing our deepest wells of power? This is the revolutionary insight Tamika Lipscomb shared during our interview. Embracing vulnerability and transparency as a Black professional or entrepreneur can be one of your greatest strengths, not a weakness. Let that sink in for a moment. The very thing we've been taught to hide, our struggles, our uncertainties, our need for support, might actually be the key to unlocking unprecedented growth, connection, and impact. Now, I know what you're thinking. In a world where Black professionals already face heightened scrutiny and pressure to be twice as good, vulnerability sounds risky, dangerous even. And you're not wrong to feel that way. But consider this: what if the traditional model of strength, the one that demands we handle everything alone, that we never admit weakness, that we power through at all costs, is actually making us weaker? The research is startlingly clear on this point. Studies show that suppressing vulnerability leads to increased stress, reduced creativity, limited collaboration, and ultimately burnout. The psychological toll of maintaining a perfect facade is enormous, and it disproportionately affects communities already navigating systemic barriers. Tamika's journey illustrates this principle beautifully. She shared with me how she took a leap of faith, moving her family to Florida with nothing and building a new home from scratch while ensuring all her children were registered in college under her roof. This wasn't a story of having it all figured out. It was a story of tremendous uncertainty, of moments when she didn't know how things would work out, of times when she needed to reach out for support. But rather than diminishing her, this vulnerability became her superpower. By being honest about her challenges, she created authentic connections. By acknowledging what she didn't know, she opened herself to crucial mentorship. By sharing her struggles, she built a community that lifted her up when she needed it most. This brings me to the first key insight from our conversation. Embracing vulnerability leads to real strength. When you own your story, including the struggles, you open doors for genuine connection, mentorship, and collaboration that can propel both personal healing and business growth. Let's look at a powerful example of this principle in action. Tamika Goodson founded Diverse Health, a virtual healthcare provider focused on accessible mental health care, as part of her mission during Mental Health Awareness Month. She faced the dual challenge of addressing stigma around mental health in Black communities while also navigating barriers in digital healthcare access. Now, the traditional approach might have been to project perfect confidence, to hide any doubts or difficulties, but instead, Tamika leveraged her own experiences and the gaps she witnessed in mental health support within her community to create authentic connections with the people she aimed to serve. She openly discussed the challenges, the stigmas, and the barriers. She shared stories that resonated with her community's experiences. And through this vulnerability, she built trust that allowed diverse health to become a vital resource, offering culturally competent care options. The impact has been remarkable. Diverse health has helped normalize conversations around mental wellness among Black professionals and improved access across multiple states. By being willing to address difficult topics openly, Tamika created space for others to do the same, and in doing so, began dismantling generations of silence around mental health in Black communities. This leads to our second key insight: community matters. Building sustainable success isn't just about individual achievement, it's about collective upliftment. We see this principle powerfully illustrated in the work of Tamika D. Mallory, a nationally recognized social justice leader who channels activism into sustainable business ventures benefiting marginalized groups. Facing significant backlash as both an outspoken advocate for racial equity and as a Black woman leading high profile movements, Mallory could have retreated into a protective shell. Instead, she built strategic partnerships between grassroots organizations and corporate allies while leveraging media platforms to amplify impact driven messaging. Her leadership inspired policy changes at local levels, especially regarding police reform, and created funding pipelines supporting minority owned businesses. Raised in Harlem with deep roots in community organizing, Tamika transformed early adversity into motivation for systemic change via entrepreneurship. As co founder of Until Freedom and honored among Time's 100 most influential people in 2020, she has redefined what leadership looks like among Black women entrepreneurs by merging profit with purpose. What makes Mallory's approach so powerful is her understanding that true strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. By creating spaces where vulnerability can be safely expressed, she's fostered communities capable of achieving what no individual could accomplish in isolation. This brings us to our third key insight: reinvention is possible at any stage, no matter where you start. From being a lady of many hats with limited resources, it's possible to create new opportunities for yourself and your family through vision, faith, and strategic action. Consider the story of Tamika, owner of Seasoned Delicious Foods, a gourmet company specializing in vegan and heart healthy products, targeting diverse consumers out of Kingston, New York. Breaking into the competitive food industry without major backing posed significant hurdles, including educating customers on plant based diets within communities less familiar with vegan cuisine. Rather than hiding these challenges, Tamika embraced them as part of her story. She focused on authenticity, sharing cultural food stories, and developing unique recipes reflecting Caribbean heritage. She partnered locally for pop up events, promoting healthy eating habits among families of color. drawing from generational cooking traditions, but pivoting toward modern dietary needs after seeing loved ones struggle with chronic illness. Tamika created something truly innovative. Seasoned delicious foods grew rapidly due to word of mouth marketing, plus community engagement efforts emphasizing wellness over profit alone. The company secured shelf space regionally and was featured at local festivals, promoting culinary diversity. More importantly, it inspired other minority entrepreneurs nationwide to pursue niche markets rooted authentically within their lived experience. What these stories share is a fundamental reimagining of what strength looks like. They show us that true power doesn't come from pretending we have all the answers or that we never struggle. It comes from the courage to be seen as we truly are, with all our questions, challenges, and needs. This is particularly revolutionary for Black women professionals who have long been expected to be superhuman, to handle everything, support everyone, and never show a crack in the armor. The strong Black woman trope has been both a badge of honor and a burden that has led countless brilliant women to burnout, health problems, and diminished joy. But there is another way. Imagine what might be possible if we expanded our definition of strength to include the ability to say, I don't know, I need help, or I'm struggling. Imagine the innovations that might emerge if we created professional spaces where authenticity was valued over perfection. Imagine the leaders who might rise if we recognize that vulnerability is not weakness, but the ultimate expression of courage. This isn't just idealistic thinking, it's a practical strategy for sustainable success. When we embrace vulnerability, we create deeper, more authentic connections with clients, colleagues, and communities. We access support and resources that help us overcome challenges more effectively. Okay? We reduce the enormous energy drain that comes from maintaining a perfect facade. We model healthier ways of being for the next generation. And we open ourselves to unexpected collaborations and innovations. The question before us isn't whether vulnerability has power. The evidence clearly shows it does. The question is whether we have the courage to embrace it, especially in contexts where it hasn't traditionally been welcomed or valued. So I challenge you today, what armor are you wearing that no longer serves you? What mask are you hiding behind that's actually blocking your path to greater impact? What will become possible if you dare to stand in your full truth, not despite your struggles, but because of them? The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more whole people, people who understand that their wounds are not defects, but portals to deeper connection and more authentic leadership. When we dare to be vulnerable, we don't just transform our own lives, we create permission for others to do the same. And in that ripple effect lies the potential for healing not just individuals, but entire communities. That's not weakness, that's revolutionary power. So today, I invite you to join the revolution. Take off the armor, put down the mask, step into the fullness of who you are, questions, uncertainties, struggles, and all. Because your vulnerability isn't your weakness, it's your greatest untapped power source. And the world is waiting for you to switch it on. Thank you